Hey guys, Tonny here with another Warframe video, and in this video we'll be looking at Archon Atlas. So primarily Atlas is actually great for landslide, so in this video I'll be showing you some landslide builds. But first let's understand what landslide is. So landslide deals impact damage and occasional elemental damage depending on your melee weapon. It has a 200% critical multiplier, a 5% critical chance, and a 5% status chance. Your melee weapon increases the damage based on the combo multiplier on your melee weapon, so Vanka Prime is definitely recommended, or any other weapons with a 13 combo multiplier. For the Archon Shards, I have all slots filled up with ability strength. The melee chance Archon Shard does not work with landslide because it is somewhat considered a pseudo exalted weapon. Alright, it's time to look at the melee weapon build you'll be using for your landslide, and consider this a template than a actual build unless you have a Riven. So here I have a Tekko Prime. Now I should be using Vanko or something similar to that, but due to the fact that Tekko is Atlas signature, might as well just use it. Here this build is a crit build. Now in order for this to work, you need to have a Riven with crit chance. Doesn't matter how much it is, maybe 180, it could be 150, it could be 100% maybe, which would pretty much help by a little bit on landslide. But without the Riven mod, you would not be able to execute a 100% crit chance. Now even though you have Blood Rush with Sacrificial Steel, with 150% crit chance, if I were to go in without any other crit buffs, I will not execute a 100% crit chance, because this crit chance does not apply to the landslide, because landslide does have a 5% crit chance. So consider it a pseudo exalted weapon that does not like crits. So if you have 200% crit chance on a melee weapon, then landslide would not have 200%, but maybe around 50%, 60%, maybe 80%. I don't know the exact amounts, but it should be around there. So let's take a look at the mods I have here. So I have Sacrificial Steel for extra critical chance, definitely must have. Then I have the Prime Pressure Point for melee damage, Toxin for melee damage, Gladiator Might for the critical damage, and for the critical chance per combo multiplier. I have Organ Shatter for more critical damage, Blood Rush for critical chance on combo multiplier, which is really good, Spoiler Strike for the extra 100% damage. I can replace this with a status mod, but this build is for based on crits and not on status, so the 100% damage is good enough for me. And of course, I do not have a room for a status mod, so might as well. So I have a Riven for critical chance, status chance, and critical damage, with all three working on the landslide. If you do not have a Riven mod with critical chance, do not fret. I have a build for that requires no critical chance whatsoever. But otherwise, again, I said before, you definitely need to have a Riven mod with critical chance in order to make a good critical damage build. So here is the non-crit build here with Augur Strike, Buzz Kill. You have the status mods here, and Spoiler Strike for extra damage. You can consider to add more status mods on here, but make sure you get Prime Heavy Trauma in here. And the reason I do not have Prime Heavy Trauma on my other build is because I have no room for it, and I don't really need it as well. The damage difference between the crit build and this one are not that different. They're almost similar in terms of damage, so don't fret on the damage. So overall, any damage mods definitely works with landslide, as well as critical chance and status chance. So feel free to adjust the mods to your fitting, but the mods I'm showing you with both critical damage and the status build are pretty much good to go for the steel path. Okay, it is time for the very first build I'm about to show you. Now I'm going to consider these builds as level 1, 2, and 3 in terms of difficulty. So level 1 would be the easiest, and the highest would be level 3, which is the hardest. And now I'll explain later on why they are easiest or the hardest. But first, let's just take a look at this level 1 here, and that's the easiest one. And the reason why it's easiest is because you don't have to worry about energy whatsoever. The Fleeting Expertise takes care of the efficiency, and the ability duration really helps with the subsumed ability which I have here, which is Gloom, which is definitely a recommend here. Now you can use Rhino's Roar or Mirage's Eclipse, but without Gloom, you will need to go back into your operator to get some HP back, to get your health back in and out, and which is pretty annoying because you want to spend less time with your operator and more time just punching the crap out of everything. So Gloom pretty much helps you survive. So with the mods here, I have Steel Charge with melee damage, Power Drift for ability strength, more ability strength with Sentinel resistance. Rubble Heap is definitely a mandatory mod here. The reason being is that the 1400 rubble pretty much doubles your damage, and landslide costs no energy. Constitution for more ability duration. More ability duration from Narrow-Minded. Have the statues to create rubble, which is really good. Highly mandatory for Rubble Heap. Hunter Adrenaline is pretty much your energy generator. So basically whenever you take damage on health, which you will convert that damage to energy. Prime Continuity for ability duration. So for the Arcanes here, I have ability strength on Molt Augmented. At 250, you get 60% ability strength. So overall, you should be getting 269 ability strength. Arcane Avenger is definitely a mandatory mod here for the critical chance. Now this is a flat out 45% critical chance. So instead of 5% critical chance baseline on the Landslide, you get 50% critical chance if you get hit. I'm actually saying you got to get hit. Even though it says on damage, if you're using Landslide, you'll be invulnerable for a certain amount of time. Even then, if you take a hit, Arcane Avenger will still proc. So in theory, you should be proccing Arcane Avenger a lot the more enemies are shooting at you. Which with my critical damage build, you would maintain the 100% crit chance. If you're not using a critical damage build, if you're using a status build, still consider using Arcane Avenger. This will help you a lot with damage. Now with the overall stats here, 222 duration is good enough for the Landslide's combo window as well as the stone duration for Path of Statues. And the energy per enemy drain is not that big of a deal. It's only 1 at the maximum. Alright, so this is the level 2 Landslide build, and this one takes away the fleeting expertise and putting in transient fortitude for ability strength, and of course with an increased amount of duration. So you still will maintain energy per cast, but it's becoming only 25, which is not that bad. It's just that the preparation is the big downside to this build. And what that means is you will need to start with full energy in order for you to be able to utilize Landslide properly. So the idea is that you definitely want to not cast Gloom just yet. You cast it right when your shields are down. And when they are down, you definitely want to start casting Gloom and then start punching away. Otherwise, you can also use Xenarect for energy or energy pads, and the damage difference between the level 1 and this is not that big of a deal. But for those that want to have increased duration, this is the build for that. Okay, so this is a level 3 build here. And the reason why it's level 3 is because of Blind Rage, which pretty much hurts you so much that the cast on Landslide is 38. Yeah, that's a lot. So I increased the energy capacity to 744 with Prime Flow. The only downside to this build is preparation. But once you get that 1400 Rebel Heap, you're pretty much God mode in terms of damage, and you would do 2 million damage or 1 million damage per hit every time. So it's pretty strong, and when it comes to preparing for this, you definitely want to get some energy pads on here. If you're not going to be using energy pads, Xenarect will also be great. Or if you want to just not use any of those two, you can definitely just prepare with taking damage. So the preparation is similar to the level 2 build, except that it takes a little bit longer to get 744 energy. And if there are tanky enemies, you do not want to spend Landslide on them that much just yet until you get 1400 Rebel Heap. And in order to kill those tanky enemies quickly, you want to use your Parazon or the Mercy Kill. So if you're up against tanky enemies like Grineers and such, the Mercy Kill is pretty much your best bet. And if you are using the Mercy Kill, you will be using Parazon, and you definitely need mods for that. So I have 3 mods here that you definitely can use. First off would be the Blood for Energy, which is definitely a recommend mod here, especially if you're using a level 3 build. Power Drain is also pretty good here for the extra 50% ability strength. Swift Mercy is a mandatory mod for Parazon because it increases your Mercy kills speed by 50%, so the animation does not take too long. Alright, it's time to go over the mods you shouldn't be using on the Landslide build here. Plan on using Adaption or Rolling Guard, don't do it because it hurts 100 adrenaline in terms of converting damage to health. Equilibrium does not give you energy if you have full health. Anything related to evasion you definitely want to stay away from. The reason being is because of Arcane Avenger. You can get hit on Arcane Avenger and not take damage and still proc this, but if you do not take anything at all, it's not going to proc. You want to stay away from Augur set mods because of the energy spent on abilities is converted to shields, which means that you can't take damage on your health. Alright, it's time to go over some optional things that can definitely buff your Atlas. You don't have to have these, but it's good to have them. So first off would be the focus tree here, and that is the Naramon focus tree. And the only main reason to have this is because of the melee combo counter. However, you do not want to use the first or second ability of Naramon because it definitely hurts your Landslide, as you cannot hit lifted enemies with Landslide. If you do not want to use Naramon for the decay rate, you can use Moderite for extra damage, or Xenarect for more energy. For the companions, you can use the Crescent Vat, but make sure you do not have the Crescent Charge mod on here because there is a chance that enemies will be lifted and you cannot Landslide them. However, damage will be amplified. So this is pretty much a gray area in terms of companions. My go-to Kavat would be the Panzer Kavat because of the Panzer Devolution with Virals and Viral Quills here. And even though your companions will pretty much die instantly because of its steel path, they will still revive themselves back up, so you don't have to spend so much time reviving them. And that is why, when it comes to companions, only these type of Kavats are best. If you're going to be using a Slide Kavat, make sure you do not have the Slide Devolution because of the evasion. And like I said before, evasion does hurt your Hunter Adrenaline. The difference is not noticeable, so you can use Slide if you want. Any other companions will pretty much require you to revive them if they go down, and you definitely don't want to have that at all. That is it for this video. When it comes to placing where Atlas is, it's pretty much can compete against Baruuk because of the damage Baruuk does. It's absolutely insane to the point where it's good enough to be able to one-shot Steel Path enemies. But when it comes to the highest damage possible between the two, Atlas wins. However, when it comes to kills per minute, Baruuk wins. Thank you for watching. Until next time, peace out.